Hi class, this is your professor Rachel Walker with the second part of chapter 29, which is about World War II. Last time we stopped at Benito Mussolini with Italy, and now we're going to talk about Germany and Adolf Hitler. Okay, according to Yahoo Kids, he lived from 1889 to 1945. He was the founder and leader of National Socialism, we know it as Nazism, and German dictator. He was a vet of World War I. He actually was born in Austria. Okay, he attempted to direct overthrow of government initially in 1923 in something called the Beer Hall Putsch. Okay, but it failed, and he ended up in prison where he wrote his most famous book, Mein Kampf. While he worked through the Weimar government, which was the government after World War I, to spy on political movements, he discovered the Nazi Party. At that moment was the German Workers' Party, and it's this party that will become the most dominant party during this time period from basically the 1930s and 40s. Okay. Hitler was a decorated veteran of World War I, led the party in Weimar Germany. After a failed coup, he gained support by promoting nationalism, anti-Semitism, and anti-communism with charismatic oratory and propaganda. His foreign policy basically was something called Lebensraum, this right here, also known as living space. The German invasion of Poland in 1939 will cause the British and French empires to declare war on Germany, and it will lead to the outbreak of World War II in Europe. And the person you need to know about is John Keegan. He is like one of the major war historians in the career of history. One of his more popular or more known works is the Second World War. Okay, this as well as fascism is a must know, and what I mean by that is you're going to have to write it out on your test. Okay, Nazism is a form of socialism featuring racism and expansionism and an obedience to a strong leader. It also has something to do with racism, as you can tell, or as you will tell with later frames in this PowerPoint, how racial purity is also a major factor in Nazism. But as we go over to the Pacific, we deal with Japan's continued march of aggression. In September of 1931, Japan marches into Manchuria, which is this area right here, and converts into a Japanese province that will be known as Manchukuo. China, under Chiang Kai-shek, you will hear about him later, appealed to the League of Nations for help, but Hoover, who was president at the time, refused to authorize either U.S. economic or military reprisals. Instead, they sent an investigatory commission. Okay, in January 1932, they attacked Shanghai, and they're mostly infamous for indiscriminate bombing of residential districts. The League condemned the aggression, but China left the League and just continued its control. Back over into Europe, by March of 1935, you see Hitler institute universal military training and denounces the settlement of Versailles. Okay, in May of 35, you see Mussolini right here with his hand up. He's actually the one that does the first Heil movement. Okay, he threatens Ethiopia, which is an African nation in Eastern Africa, and he visually invades it in October of 1935 and annexes it officially. Okay. In March of 38, you see Hitler annex Austria, which is south of Germany. You also see the rise of Nazi anti-Semitism, and as early as 1938, you see 500,000 Jews seek refuge abroad. In September of 1938, Hitler demanded Czechoslovakia cede to German-speaking Sudetenland. And when you get into Central Europe, you have a lot of Germans in these non-German lands, such as Poland and Czechoslovakia, and the demand of Czechoslovakia to come to Germany is part of that Lebensraum strategy that Hitler has. Okay, this guy up here named Neville Chamberlain, who's the British Prime Minister, and French Prime Minister Edouard Daladier meet with Hitler in Munich and agree. It's known as the Munich Agreement, and basically the idea was if they give him what he wants, then he'll stop being aggressive and he won't attack France or England, which turns out to be wrong later on. Okay, we'll finish up talking about what is known as pre-camp anti-Semitism. What that means is anti-Semitic acts before the development and the sending off of Jews in concentration camps. One thing you have to know is Kristallnacht. It's the night of broken glass. It occurred on the night of November 9th, 1938, on which the Nazis coordinated an attack on Jewish people and their property in Germany and German-controlled lands, such as Poland, such as Austria. 91 Jews were dead and hundreds seriously injured. You see 7,500 Jewish businesses gutted and 1,000 synagogues burned or damaged. By 1939, after the invasion of Poland, you begin to see the infamous yellow stars that Jews are required to wear according to the Nazi government. You also see the development of Nuremberg race laws. These are laws passed in Germany to denigrate the Jews. It's based on pseudoscience and eugenics. When I put this up on Blackboard, I want you to pay attention to this chart right here. This is an example of race laws. It's very similar to how we consider race mixing in the U.S., okay, as far as German blood and Jewish blood. Okay, and I want you to read this right here where it talks about following the outbreak of the war in September 1939 to see the general denigration of Jews in German society. Okay, and we'll hold up with that. We'll just start off with Francisco Franco on the third batch.